Okay, actually click record this time.
Okay. Hi, this is the Dukes of Cranburg podcast. This is the second take we had to do because I was a genius and didn't click the record button. Yeah, I'm really smart. Now, before we get into anything, I'm Max, and the other three people who are with me are, introduce yourselves, Lucas.
Hola, mi nombre es Lucas. Yeah. Okay.
Bashar.
Got Bashy the Fashy.
He's drinking. Really? Are you just gonna drink the Sprite and not say anything?
Alright, and we have Evan on call. He's behind the screen.
Yes,
he couldn't make
he's
it.
in the computer.
He's in the computer. He's in the mainframe. Hashtag hacker.
He's staring at you through YouTube.
Mm-hmm. We're not even posting. Are we posting this on YouTube?
You know what? I don't even know what we're doing.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Max.
We can do it later.
Okay.
But so I had this great segment that I was talking about earlier, and I'm gonna go back to it because none of it was recorded, as I just previously mentioned. So we're gonna talk about MUN. For those of you who don't live in Newfoundland and Labrador, so MUN is a post-secondary university.
What does MUN stand for?
Memorial University. It literally stands for Memorial University.
Of Newfoundland.
Oh yeah.
Is there
Sorry.
Newfoundland and Labrador?
No, there's no Newfoundland and Labrador. It's just Newfoundland.
The N. N is Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's
and UN is university.
Yeah, Memorial University.
Oh.
It doesn't even stand for university. Okay.
Alright.
So basically, MUN, like a lot of people like to diss on MUN, just like, man, MUN sucks, and like, oh, they're like wasting my money, and people are always going on about this. Like back when I used to work, and I would listen to them, and I started to think about like mostly just like, are any of these claims true? Does MUN really steal the money from people? Is MUN really not doing anything for the students or anything like that? And so I did a bit of looking into it on Google.
Personal research.
Personal research, and so there's what I found pretty interesting. There's a program called SHAD. It's a Canadian program. It's a STEM program where
what does SHAD stand for?
I have no idea what it stands for.
Is it in like science?
No, that's what STEM.
Well, now it's actually STEAM because the arts is part of it.
in there.
But it accommodates for STEAM and science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And so basically, it's a $9,000 program, and you go to a university of your preferred choice across Canada for 1 month, and you do workshops and you do activities and you learn all kinds of things, and that's at least what I've been told. One of my friends went there. Hopefully, I can get in this year. But if you live in Canada, SHAD automatically gets rid of half the price of it, so $4,500 are already gone from the program. That part is already covered by SHAD, and it's pretty good.
If you're from Canada.
Yeah, from Canada. If you live in Canada.
So you dirty Americans, you gotta pay $4,500 extra.
No, 9,000.
$4,500 extra.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
never mentioned this.
Okay.
Come on, Max.
So
get your head in the game.
Yeah, sorry. And so basically, if you live in Newfoundland, this is only in Newfoundland. If I'm correct, I think it's the Husky Corporation.
Yes.
Or the Mercy, one of those two.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Basically, they decided to fund MUN, and MUN used that money to make people who, like, citizens of Newfoundland and Labrador, be able to go to SHAD and have it be completely free for them. They don't. The other $4,500 is $4,500 is also covered by the university, and the reason MUN is doing this is because if you look at it like statistically, I mean, Newfoundland and Labrador have the smallest amount of specializations in the STEAM part of. Really? Why? They have like the smallest amount of people who go out and like do stuff with STEAM. So MUN is really trying to push people to start doing that to really get them ahead in the rest of the world, in the rest of Canada, so that Newfoundland doesn't fall behind. And this gets into my second point of a lot of people think MUN is a bad school because, like Bashar said earlier when I wasn't recording, that MUN is 452nd in the world. And that number might seem kind of low compared to like something like, I don't know, Stanford, Harvard, or Cambridge. But look at me, number...
That's what it sounds like when you mention those universities that I can't afford.
Just be poor!
Oh, fair.
Or rich. But,
Memorial is also 23rd in Canada.
Yeah, that.
23rd best university.
But no, a lot of people are like, oh man, MUN sucks, like, globally. MUN doesn't suck globally. The thing is MUN has really good professors. I do fencing at MUN, and I talked to some of the professors who are in fencing, and they're all really, like, obviously really smart and everything. But I was just talking to them about MUN itself, and they get a lot of professors from around the world who, like, cost them a lot of money just to get the professors because they're really good at what they do. And so they pay these professors a lot, and they teach a lot, and they're really, really good at bringing students into the rest of the world. I mean, if you look at people who graduate MUN, a lot of them get jobs quite quickly in the specialties that they graduated in. It's the biggest problem with MUN that's setting it so low globally is the fact that MUN has a very low average grade level. I feel like I'm just kind of making a speech because you guys aren't saying anything, but MUN has a very
segment.
That's true.
Yes.
MUN has a very low grade level because the thing about MUN is that it can't be selective. It has about a 70% acceptance rate. So I mean, just get all C's in high school, and you can go into MUN.
C's?
Yeah, just C's, and you can get into MUN, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
because they have to accommodate. We aren't necessarily the most intelligent province, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have a very
we have a lot of smart people. Just
they
like
usually
our
move away.
average,
They move
our
away.
average is a lot.
Yeah,
lower.
and this leads into another problem with Newfoundland, where they don't have a lot of specialization jobs. Most people who graduate from MUN go somewhere else, get their master's degree somewhere else in Canada or even America or anywhere else in the world, and then they go and get a master's there. And because Newfoundland does not have a lot of specialization degrees, there's a lot of, from what I know in the work field and from my mom trying to find a job, there's a lot of, customer service jobs like Costco and Walmart and Sobeys, which is just like grocery store for those of you who are Newfoundland, you know what I'm talking about. And there's
Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian.
I guess.
I'm an American.
But no, MUN has
So like
not
everyone
MUN.
who's watching.
Newfoundland doesn't have a lot of specialization jobs. They have a lot of service jobs, and I'm just repeating my points now. And there's not a lot of opportunities for people to go and get specialization jobs here because there isn't enough of there isn't enough of a need and a buildup of civilization. I mean, our economy is slowly just falling down the drain. So
It's just like, hey, look, I think we can probably chance this. Let's try it, and then it fails, and then they do it again and again.
yeah,
And then increase our taxes because we're
gonna go build a dam somewhere, and then this dam. What ended up happening was there's a lot of like poison, like lead, I think it was in the water. Oh, time to go and huh?
It's mercury.
Yeah, mercury.
There's
Time to go spend like another $2 billion trying to build this dam when they could easily just go for something like, I don't know, windmills. Like
The whole premise of that dam was to kind of it was like we owed Quebec, and that's why we built it so we could share energy with Quebec, and so now we can't really stop it. But
I'm gonna look up something. Windiest.
Okay.
If you don't know where Newfoundland is, we're like the most east part of Canada. We're right beside the ocean, so we get a lot of wind.
We are an island.
Yeah, actually, we are the third windiest. We're not a country, but we're the third windiest place in the world.
And we're the second foggiest.
Yes, and we could easily have windmills and all this, but there might be a problem with it. I haven't looked into this enough myself. This is more just speculation and everything.
Isn't there like some law you can't build past a certain height in Newfoundland?
Yeah.
That might be a
lot.
problem.
There is.
So
You aren't allowed to build it, like if it falls over there. You aren't allowed to build something that's tall enough to fall onto someone else's land.
Yeah,
Oh.
and if you're building a hotel, you can't build it above like a certain amount of stories.
Smarties.
But that makes sense in the city for blocking people's view.
Yeah.
But in the countryside where you build windmills, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, because I mean, windmills would be great. Like they give off so
Yeah.
much power, and they're really really efficient, and they're not like overly expensive. They're fairly cheap compared to other like ways of producing energy. So yeah, this that was a bit of a leap from what I was originally planning, but I think people like really just need to like take it a bit easier on Memorial University because they're trying their best to try and bring people out into the real world, and they want people to stay here because we really need to build up our civilization and have more specialties and everything like that. So yeah, that's my in defense of mine, and so now we can start getting into everybody else's other segments.
All right, so thank
Could
you.
I just
Yeah, go for it, Evan.
Yeah, before we
could I say something else about sustainable energy? I think there's a conflation of sustainable and renewal, and an incorrect conflation of sustainable energy and clean energy. Because I mean, dams are one of the worst polluters in terms of greenhouse gases because of all of the rotting vegetation. But they're renewable because the water's going to keep flowing, but they're not clean at all.
If you have degrading like plants and like fish who are dead and everything, I'm pretty sure that increases the amount. Yeah, it increases the amount of ammonia in the water. Because I have a fish tank and I deal with that problem sometimes whenever like I don't clean it enough and something dies, the ammonia levels just spike.
What kind of fish do you have?
I have like an angelfish, goldfish, butterfly fish. Butterfly fish, look that up. It's super cool. It always looks like it's dead, but it's not.
I'm gonna edit
cool.
a picture of butterfly fish in at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's super duper cool fish. Another one is a blue ram. Those are also really cool. They're electric blue ram. They're amazing. But so yeah. Evan can go back to his segment.
That's really all I had to say. It just causes a huge amount of methane having all of that stuff rotting in the water.
Yeah.
Which it might be renewable and sustainable, but it's definitely not clean.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
But windmills would be clean.
Yeah. We would just need to find probably like an oceanic position for them, and it would probably work. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Don't
Gotcha.
forget the butterfly fish.
Yeah. Okay. Now I guess we can start getting into our other talking points. We're gonna kind of mention some ongoing political and economic, whatever kind of stuff that's
Just
going on in the
world
world.
news.
World news.
Mm-hmm.
World news.
Current world.
Current, kind of current. All right.
Mostly.
So I guess we can start off with one of the topics Evan suggested, which is London banning Uber. All right. So Evan can get started on that if he wants to.
Okay, so London has long had issues with Uber. There's been issues with it in other cities, but London has such a taxi driving culture, if you will, that there's always been a resistance to Uber. So it's come to pass that London has banned Uber by mechanism of letting their license expire.
Oh yeah. Before we continue with the segment, I originally thought Evan was British, so yeah, just that. So if anybody ever thinks he's British, just know that he isn't, but his mom is.
He's like, what is
I don't know.
So,
What are you, Evan?
He's a mix of white.
Okay. Continue.
Okay, continue with your
well,
segment.
London taxi drivers are elated that London has banned Uber, but they have cited, and TfL, the London Transport Authority, has cited several reasons for their decision. The biggest thing is that there have been issues with Uber not reporting sexual assaults,
Yes.
And that's one of their main justifications for letting their licenses expire.
Not
But
only such.
There's
also
definitely an
other
undercurrent
criminal offenses as
Yeah,
well.
Of-
it's criminal offenses there.
the resistance against the new technology, and this raises an interesting debate, really, between the new technology and the sort of old culture of taxi driving. Which one is better, and whether the market should have been allowed to run its course.
Yeah.
That's it, really.
Okay. So I have the thing, the Uber website pulled up here now, and it's how to get driving
Do
with
you wanna
Uber.
edit that in?
Yeah. So we have the sign up online. It says there's a little caption that says it's easy to get started. Sign up online, get a private hire license, and get a vehicle. And I believe what Max was saying is
They
what
include
kind
a
of
vehicle?
no, you have to get a
Yeah.
vehicle yourself.
Oh, that's-
I don't think they're that good yet.
Wait, what kind of what?
All right, pay attention.
Sorry, I was looking at something important on my phone.
Okay. All right. So
Very
here's how it
important.
gets started. What did you say that they needed to watch?
There is if I remember correctly from the video that I watched, there is the only thing you need to actually be applicable for to get like the license to drive for
all
Uber,
of this, like private license.
like a private license and everything, is you need a car, a license from the government, and you need to watch a 15-minute YouTube video.
A driver license from like not a special, just a
No, you just need a normal
Yeah.
driver's license, and you need to watch a 15-minute YouTube video by Uber, and you're automatically considered qualified. Like
Nice.
just like that. That's while on the other hand, taxi drivers, like if we're gonna compare them to London taxi drivers, they have to go through like at least 2 years or maybe 1 year of driving school, and they have to know all the roads, and there's like it's super duper difficult for like to become a taxi driver. Okay.
Yeah, I think Uber sort of exploits the private hire legislation to run their cars as private hire rather than taxis, and then they don't get the training and rules that apply to running taxis.
Mm-hmm.
Although 40,000 people work with Uber in London, so if-
40,000 people are potentially losing their job.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's like a side effect.
Let's boost
Well,
this.
one more thing to say that's I guess I could say against Uber is the fact that if you compare, I mean, somebody look up the wages. Actually, I'll just look it up myself. But like now it's been a bit different. But I'm trying to look up something. What? Okay, somebody say something while I'm looking this up.
Okay. So I've kind of looked at both sides of this argument, and
The thing is, we don't have Uber here.
yeah, we
so
don't
like,
we don't have Uber here, so we can't like comment from personal experience.
We're testifying on what we read online, so you
Yeah.
have to take that into account.
Take that into yes. Uber doesn't have a way to background check people, like especially drivers, as well as the people getting into the car. So you kind of only have their account to look on.
I mean, they could implement a
could
policy,
implement,
but they
yes.
do not have one.
They don't have one at the moment, no. So it's kind of risky having having a bunch of people in a city, a big city where a big city where people are driving around with unknown. Hey, are you a good guy, or are you a guy who's trying to take all my lunch money?
There's like a bunch of videos on YouTube of like people getting into Uber cars and just assault. The
Exactly,
drivers
yes.
are assaulting their.
You know my favorite YouTube videos are the one with, oh, my Uber driver kidnapped me, and then the Uber driver takes like one wrong turn. It's just like, it's the end of the world. I'm being
Yeah.
kidnapped.
And I think though that brings up a good point. Those videos kind of overshadow the actual problems
Yeah, they do.
by faking things. Yeah.
Back to what I was saying earlier. So from what it says here, the average taxi cab driver in London, they put in 40 to 50 hours a week, and every year they make £23,000.
Which is more than 40 to 50. What is it?
40 to 50 hours a week.
That's more than the average, right?
The average is like 40 hours a week.
Okay.
How much do they make?
£23,000. Now
Whoa.
with Uber originally, back when Uber was like had originally started up and everything, the average Uber driver who spent 15 minutes watching a YouTube video could make up to $90,000 a year. Now,
That's
obviously,
American.
uh,
we're doing the
yeah, in America.
comparison.
Obviously now, it's risen and everything. Not risen. It's lowered and everything because there's more. Right now we are googling to see how much.
23,000 pounds is
Okay,
just
that's
just
almost 40.
just
40,000.
under 40,000.
Yeah.
38,879 and 94 cents to be exact.
Okay, so that's
Canadian.
That's a lot less than you would have made in, regular old American county.
Bashar brought up a good point earlier about the man in the wheelchair and Uber.
Yeah.
When you weren't recording, Max.
All
So
right.
there was this guy named Leo in London, and he was just he was being interviewed by this news company, and he told them how Uber was one of the most accessible things for him, and like the buses they have there, the tubes they have there, they didn't really accommodate for him, and most of the taxis they didn't really accommodate for him either, or he had to pay extra charges to get like an accessible taxi, while Uber, most of them just let him in normally. And he was able to visit his family more often because
I
of
believe
that.
in like a fourth of the time that it would have taken
Yeah.
in one of the regularly scheduled buses. Yeah.
So the buses took him 2 hours, while Uber only took him half an hour.
Man, I wish the buses like here were as good as like buses literally anywhere else, because the buses here suck. They're like either like 10 minutes early and they're supposed to wait until somebody's there, or they're just like, I'm just gonna be like 20 minutes to half an hour late just because.
And the bus only comes once an hour, so if you miss the bus,
Yeah.
you're
There
standing
are
outside for an hour.
better transportation places. Like Prague is incredibly good for transportation, and London's pretty good.
You and your fancy Czechoslovakia trip.
Oh yes.
Uber drivers make less than the average.
Yeah, Uber drivers do make less than the average wage. So
In
usually
London.
they would have in London. Usually they'd have another part-time job, something like that. Evan, do you have any more comments on the whole Uber thing?
Scandal.
Not
No,
scandal.
hold on, really, no.
No, not really. All right.
What do you think about it? Do you agree with London banning Uber?
I mean, I think it's right that they discipline Uber for breaking the laws. And I do have a lot of sympathy for the traditional taxi cab drivers. But I also wonder if there's an element of trying to police the new system that they don't like, that taking jobs away through the natural progression of technology and the market.
Yeah. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. They're just prolonging and postponing it.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we got that over. Now you can talk about the second thing we have, Lucas.
Okay, so another thing that's recently been a bit of a buzz in the news is the release of the JFK assassination files.
So also happened later on today.
And hopefully it'll happen by at some point while we're recording this. But if it doesn't, oh well. You can always look it up yourself. But yeah,
We're all furiously reloading the FBI website.
Yes.
Waiting for it.
So if you don't know, once the FBI confiscates information on a certain person, I'm going to use Nikola Tesla's files as an example. When they take in the files, they have this set amount of years. I don't know the year amount right now, but where they have to keep it locked up, and they aren't allowed to release it to the public. And then after those years are up, it's up to
I'm pretty sure it's 25 years is the minimum.
at least, and it usually goes at least for double that, which is what Nikola Tesla's files as well as JFK's files have been hidden for. So yeah, Congress usually dictates whether or not something gets released, and in this case, I'm going to use Nikola Tesla. It was confiscated in before World War II ended, so it was in the early 1940s, and it was only released last year. In spring of last year, it was released on the FBI website, all of the files that they had taken from his house the day after Nikola Tesla died. Obviously, for war reasons, it makes sense, but it was still a very long time to release these, all of these information and stuff. So, yeah, have you found out anything about how long it takes? No? All right.
We just got some random tweet about Donald Trump
Oh.
saying
Mm.
he's teasing us with a JFK.
Yeah, he's like dangling in front of his head, like, hey guys, look what I'm doing, but it's not really him doing it, right?
He's trying to take credit that he's the one who's going to be releasing
Yeah.
the JFK files. While I'm pretty sure the Congress said
Congress
it
had
will
it
be
planned,
released
yes.
like decades of years ago.
Yeah, they usually plan it out. It takes a while, but if he wanted to, he could stop it. So
Yeah, he's allowed to delay it if he feels it will harm the
public,
not the government, not the public.
well,
Harm the public's opinion on the
yes, that's what I meant. Funny thing is, I want to read a lot about it. I don't feel like anything's really going to be ultimately solved or found out by the release of the files.
It was aliens who
Yeah,
killed
my-
JFK.
You bring up
My karate instructor firmly believes that JFK assassination was due because JFK wanted to release information to the public about aliens and alien activities. That's not even... No, it's done... I don't know how to do it.
You guys suck at this.
Okay.
Just give us a second.
Alright, anyways, Evan, do you have comments on this?
Dun, dun,
Yeah, I was just about to say, regarding your point on whether or not we'll learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that these files are going to contain anything of import because
For sure. Oh my.
Bashar, just no.
Okay, anyway. For sure.
That's what we try to play on the piano. Oh,
Alright.
keyboard.
Keyboard.
they won't contain anything important. Because if there was something that was seriously damaging or controversial, and I mean, I think there are holes in what happened, but I think they're holes there because they couldn't find out, not because there's some conspiracy.
Yeah.
But if it was really that LBJ killed John F. Kennedy, do you think the American government would release it? I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything important, really, in the files.
I think it's just going to be a bunch of incomplete information.
Well, the whole
Yeah.
point of delaying the release is so that when they do release it, even if like something controversial happened,
Exactly.
It
The
won't
tone of it is like really deafened and it's not impactful at all.
Yeah.
that's like the whole point of delaying. So
I don't think it'd be very controversial unless it literally shows in the file Lee Harvey Oswald killed him. Like, there'll be nothing else, and they don't have the information for that.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go back to the Nikola Tesla files. There were some interesting things on those. So you kind of get that once in the blue moon kind of interesting thing where, yeah, for example, Nikola Tesla's plan for a death ray that could, like, an anti-bio beam, kind of destroying whatever life form it touches, and actual planning for it. So you kind of get some of that. You also have, like, the ball lightning theory and stuff like that was riddled throughout the 200 and something pages. Oh my god, Rashad. The 200 and something pages that were released, the FBI had a hold of, as well as some newspaper articles with weird underlinings. But other than that, there's not many chances that it's going to be something très choquant. Max, no. Like I don't know. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
So I guess that's all we have for.
that's all we can really mention on JFK files, unless it comes out.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So who wants to lead the thing about Catalonia?
All right. Well, we can move into Catalonia by talking about the whole.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right. I think Bashar should kind of start talking about it. We were reading about.
Okay.
Bashar's like, uh-oh.
We get this country.
Actually,
Oh, Catalonia is the Quebec of Spain. There we go. That's
Okay.
all I have to say.
Catalonia is the Quebec of Spain. Nice comparison.
nice.
But we have.
Catalonia is like, oh my god, Spain, you guys bullied us in World War II, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Alright.
and what's it called? They just like Catalonia has their own language and they feel like they should be their own country. But Spain's like, no, you guys have to stay with us.
Because you are our economy, please no.
I mean, they have like that is true. That is their economy, but I mean,
It's
like
part of
Catalonia has a
Big
reason behind wanting to leave and justification for it. Because I mean, in World War II, they were kind of like isolated from the rest of Spain and attacked for being Catalonians. So I mean,
Multiple times.
yeah, like by bombings and all this kind of stuff. So I mean, technically, Spain did treat it like it was a different country at that point. Because I mean, if it wasn't, they wouldn't have attacked their own country with bombs.
Mm-hmm. And I think we can. There's a lot of weird election stuff going on lately. Like, I mean, in Kenya too, the whole the riots and the people. A few people, I believe, died in these riots before the 2017 Kenyan election. And it kind of brings up again the fact that a lot of people are unhappy about the current political situations in their own countries.
Just the thing about Catalonia, a lot of Catalonia separatists are rebelling against their leader because the leader now wants to, like, he doesn't want to have an early election in Catalonia.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of trying to end it, really.
Yeah. So I'm just going to bring up, if anybody isn't completely up to date on what has happened recently. Catalonia ended up being a country for, what, 8 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
The shortest country in
the shortest lifespan of any country in the world.
I think it takes longer. It's shorter for me to walk up. No, it takes longer for me to walk upstairs than Catalonia was a country.
Beautiful. Oh, those are some lengthy stairs, though. That's a nice. Unless you're running upstairs like I do.
No, I run upstairs.
Oh, okay. So they are lengthy.
And then the second shortest is 49 years. So 8 seconds, 49 years.
There's a big discrepancy. Yeah. So for anybody who isn't completely aware, Catalonia tried to hold a referendum where they would leave. They were voting to leave leave Spain. And obviously, Spain did not want this. And there's just a whole bunch of unfun stuff that's happened. Starting with
Y'all a fan of them couches?
Max went over to the couch because he thinks he's more privileged than us, and he gets a comfy space.
Look at this. Like,
Okay,
like,
all right.
really?
We can't mention what we're talking about right now.
No, we can't. But
I'm pretty sure the viewers enjoy Max away
Yes.
from the.
Yes.
inside voice. Inside voice.
So the referendum ended up being illegally held. Everybody who went to vote was only allowed to vote. Not only allowed to vote. No, they were allowed to vote 15 times each.
Only 15 times.
Only 15 times, guys. Come on, it's not that bad.
And only like 40% of the population voted?
Only 40% of Catalonia actually wants to become an independent state.
No.
Only
Right?
40% voted.
90% of the 40% who voted wanted to be its own state. So there's like a whole 60% who didn't even vote.
Mm-hmm. So you end up having that, and to make it worse, the Spanish government came in with riot shields and rubber bullets and started opening fire on the people voting. Unfortunately, that's not a really good scene or on either side, so it's just kind of snowballing into this really bad issue. It's not fun for anybody, Catalonians, Spaniards, whatever. I don't know what you call Spanish people. I'm gonna call them Spaniards. It sounds like an old, like, what do you call them, gladiator term? That was in the movie Gladiator. I love that movie. Oh my god.
That's for the fact that the Spanish government came in and was just like, pew, 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 we're gonna shoot you with rubber bullets because we don't like you having your own freedoms.
Yeah. I think just let Catalonia do their own thing, and then they'll realize that not everybody's gonna vote to leave. How many people do you need for a state to leave? Don't you need over 90%?
I think it's 80.
80, okay.
80 something. Like it's.
I'm sure there's different.
It's much larger than a majority.
Different
It
regulations.
varies from country to country.
Yeah, like I know if Quebec was to do it, they need like.
Quebec only needs 51% to leave, I'm pretty sure. But
Quebec doesn't know what
They can't even get over like 48%.
Quebec doesn't know what it does. Like they're like, are you voting yes, no? And then they're like, no, yes, and then they don't know which one's yes
so
and
if you
which
don't
one
know
means
about
no.
Quebec, every like couple years, they're like, oh, we want to leave, so Canada lets them vote, and every time they vote to stay in Canada.
Exactly. So if Catalonia and if Spain just let Catalonia do that, I think they would probably be in a better situation than they are
Is that
now.
your violin over there?
That's my sister's cello.
Oh, never mind.
It's pretty big for a violin, don't you think, Max?
It's all the same.
Oh yeah, this is super useful for the podcast where they can
Right.
see.
Right.
The,
Okay, Evan, do you have any comments on Catalonia?
I'm not really sure. To me, from the Spanish Constitution's point of view, Catalonia's secession is definitely illegal. Personally, I wouldn't have tried to close down the voting booths because it makes it look bad. All I would have done personally is said that their vote doesn't really count because they can vote if they want. It's their expression. It's their right to freely express their opinion. But constitutionally, they can never enact what they want to do.
Without the permission of Spain.
Also, is it interesting in the context of Kurdish?
I'm gonna be really, really professional right now and leave the room and let a bunch of sounds happen.
bye, Max.
Yeah, I'll be back. Hello, dog.
Okay, Evan, continue.
I don't think there's the same problem with Catalonian secession from the point of view of terrorism as there is with Kurdish secession.
Alright.
Although I think
Oh, yeah,
Catalonians-
okay, I know, yeah.
Catalonian
that sound.
secession.
Okay, Max is just making noises, you can continue.
Catalonian
Wanna
secession
end
could be
Sorry.
dangerous for the entire world, really.
Yeah.
From the point of view of small regions seceding from nations.
Mhm. I believe Portugal has like the Basque country in the northern regions that would, if Catalonia was loud, it would kind of show them that they can do that too.
We'll probably get another Quebec election,
It won't go through though.
Yo, dog, what's up?
and Quebec will vote to stay again.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
But it will probably motivate like lots of countries of the UK to leave, like Scotland and.
no, stop.
Scotland being its own country.
Don't do that. Don't offend Scots, please. All right, I think we're gonna take a little break now. If Evan has any more final thoughts
Yeah, we'll just
before we end it, we can take a little break.
We'll just pause it and come back later.
Yeah.
Like the 5
5
Our
minutes.
break will be shorter than lifespan of Catalonia.
Oh yes.
So like 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm. All right, Evan, do you have any final thoughts?
Not really a whole lot else.
Okay, thanks, bye.
No.
Bashar, don't do that.
No, Bashar's joking.
I'm on.
Evan.
Hello.
Alright, I think it's time to
No,
go.
I personally don't think that secession of small regions is a good idea
No.
for any nation.
But I mean, Catalonia is like the entire economy of Spain. I mean,
Not the entire.
okay, they have a
It's a
majority
big
of it.
part,
They
big
have
part of it.
they have Barcelona. They have the most amount of tourism. They have like all the big soccer teams there. Like Catalonia has like a majority of the economy, in all of Spain.
Mhm.
I mean, economically, they could survive by themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. So.
Should
Okay.
California secede from the United States,
Oh,
Matt?
please. I mean, no, don't do that.
Don't secede from the U.S. Please, totally don't leave. We want you in the U.S.
See, we
Alright.
can make fun of California because Max is an American.
Like that techno sound. That's our break noise. All right. Bye bye. What's poppin', B? All right.
We're back, and so we got one last topic to cover before we do just a bit about IB, which is why this podcast was started. So now we're going to talk about recently in Indonesia. Recently in Indonesia, in a fireworks factory, there was an explosion that killed 48?
How many people at the moment? I think there's a a refreshed count.
Yes, there is, guys.
How many now?
You see, I'm searching in my very smart brain with my very high IQ because of Rick and Morty. And it killed 47, at least.
At least 47 people were killed. So,
That's not good.
like, obviously, like, yeah, it sucks that people just ended up dying.
No. No way. You don't say-
How about you get out of this room,
Alright,
Lucas? Even
Calm
though we're in
down.
your house, I'm gonna tell you to get out of this room.
Calm down. Shh.
In the time of the explosion, there were 103 workers in the building. And so far they found 47 dead bodies. And there's
geez.
10 bodies, 10 people remain unaccounted for.
So, how many people are in hospital? Do you know? Does it say?
It's 34 are injured and taken to the hospital.
So we have the potential for another 20 people.
So
Yeah.
there was
And-
first a huge explosion, and then there was a second smaller explosion, and then there was a fire. So now some of the victims have third-degree burns and
Okay.
horrible.
Yeah.
And, this whole thing about, like, the explosion that happened and that killed people, I think this really is, like, this isn't just about, like, just a firework explosion. This kind of stems into cheap labor that's happening all over the world, overseas.
Not necessarily
Yeah, no.
in the Western world. but
It doesn't
more
really
so-
happen here, but, like, places like China, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, places like those where cheap labor is still very prominent. There's a lot of companies who are like Apple and Samsung and all these kinds of companies who still exploit cheap labor.
Actually, there's been a few changes. I believe both Samsung and Apple have now, every time they hear of a case, because they don't directly deal with even though they should, it is their responsibility. They don't directly deal with where their things come from, like from the higher ups. But when they do for example, they found a child slave labor factory in China, and Apple did. I think it was in 2013, and they shut it down as soon as they found out about it. But then again, that shows kind
As
of
soon as they found out about it, or did the media find out about
I believe it was Apple found out about it, and then they released it to the media.
it? Okay.
But yeah, that just kind of shows how kind of invisible it is to certain companies. Yeah. Alright.
Yeah, no, I think
There's also a lot of clothing company that exploits cheap
Oh,
labor.
totally.
that's
You
really
got a pair of
really
Nikes? Yes, get that child slave labor.
Oh man, I
Spikes.
have a pair of Nikes at home, and I like to call them my child slave labor 3000s. That
was my joke.
that was my joke.
Okay, whatever, Maxim.
You're just mad because I always steal your jokes in classes and then tell them the teacher, and everybody's just like, "Oh man, that was a great joke," and
No
you just
one
kind of
does
sit
that.
there, just like, "What?" Okay, hi dog. But I think it's really becoming prominent, and I think obviously this is just obviously this is just being. Why did your dog keep licking my head? It's being very optimistic. I think companies should really, especially clothing companies, really try to stop licking at me. Really try to be a lot more strict on where their stuff comes from,
Yeah.
whether or not labor is being exploited, and this is also with diamonds too, blood diamonds.
Oh my god, yes.
And that's really they made a movie about it and everything. That's really really prominent, and a lot of I imagine there's probably still a lot of companies that, even though they say, oh, this isn't blood diamonds, it probably came from blood diamonds out in Africa.
Do you believe that governments should be stricter in enforcing?
I think people need to find a balance between
I don't think the government should be that strict because then it's communism. But I think
Says the Russian.
I think
says the Slav.
the greatest anti-communist writers came from Russia.
Says the Russian.
Says the Russian.
Okay.
Um,
But I think companies should really be a lot more hard pressed about this, by other outside groups about the way they exploit labor, and they should be fined or something if there's there's like child slave labor, and they know about it and they don't do anything about it because it's cheap.
Because
Yeah,
of morals.
because
honestly.
you need to find a balance between morals and the fact that it is a business, and in a business your main key is to make your main idea is to build profit, make money.
People also need to realize this, like the Western world really has to be educated about this, but if you want something cheap, if you want something, it can't be cheap unless it comes from child labor.
Or it comes from a place locally.
Yes,
So you're saying it's partly the public's fault for like the constant push for cheaper items, and
It is.
It's business.
It's most
and-
people's fault. Like you probably can't go through anybody's household without looking at something and saying that came from a form of
Where
slave
did
labor.
those socks come from, Lucas? They came from child labor,
Actually,
probably.
no, they're Canadian socks. And they were like $25.
What about those pants and that shirt
that's
No,
and those glasses?
America, Czech Republic, and I actually don't know about these glasses.
okay.
They're
Other
probably
than
from China.
Lucas's clothing, that's relevant to what people say about Facebook.
California,
Because-
California.
I mean, that is a communist state, so.
That's where a lot of my clothing comes from. So, and that's why it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
But people, it's
junks. Not all Californians.
talking about the
Comments.
public's push for cheaper items. There's this thing about Facebook where they like collect all this data about you, and if Facebook was like a paid service.
They wouldn't collect data about
Yeah.
you. But because it's free, they have to collect data
Yeah.
to
And
try and advertise
And
you.
the data they collect from you is like worth like very little. It's like worth
Mhm.
maybe like less than
Yeah.
$1 per
Yeah.
person.
Because it shows you what you want to see, or like it tries to at least. And well,
So
Then
like
that goes into the comments of not the comments, and that goes into the
algorithm.
the
database.
idea. I'm not talking about that anymore. It goes
Okay.
into the idea that it shows you what you want to see and not always what you
Need to see.
need to see.
For
Yeah.
example, if you like go to some hat store, I don't know, and
Yes.
like you post something about it, Facebook will then start directing
Or even
more.
if you just like pictures of hats.
Yeah,
I love this hat.
if you just increase anything about hats on your Facebook page, Facebook will start giving you more hat ads.
Yeah. So, or if you're like, hey, I like bourbon whiskey, and I don't know what that accent was.
Hey, I like bourbon whiskey, even though we aren't known for drinking bourbon whiskey out in Texas.
So bourbon, if you're like, oh yeah, I love bourbon whiskey, even though it's not really whiskey. Got him. It will show you more ads for related products or that product. Yeah.
Is that all you guys have? For
Yeah.
this?
We kind of branched off from the idea into different things. I think there should be things that's mandatory for you to see.
Going back to the main idea, Indonesia, the reason the fire was able to like do a lot more damage is because Indonesia has like very poor fire standards,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also relating to getting like cheaper labor, cheaper buildings. So
Y'all find them juice boxes?
they're compromising people's safety just to make money.
Mm-hmm. Which like a lot of people do. Then you get in because then lots of manual labor jobs do that overseas.
Overwork there
Yes.
for very little pay. Anyways,
Okay,
I don't
What will be the topic of discussion next week?
I think
find out next week too.
yeah. Tune in next week.
Tune
see
in
what
next
happens.
week, please. Please do.
Please. Okay, so I guess we can dive into I guess our final point. Or,
Yeah, I
So,
kinda
like,
wanted to talk about like since this is, as we mentioned, part of our cast for IB.
What is IB? Someone's
Oh my
just
God.
said.
well, hey, what is IB, guys? Can you please explain?
The
Thanks for
International-
asking. Wow.
International Baccalaureate. It's like, yo, do
It's
you
a bunch of advanced classes for nerds like us.
nerds Yes, got him. Anyways, it requires us to fulfill a certain amount of hours of doing different creativity and activity and service things, and we decided to do this for one of it. Now, I wanted to kind of start off talking point where how everybody, how every person finds
As
IB.
you can see, we are very smart.
We do amazing in IB English. Yes.
Oh yes.
How does everybody find IB currently? Bashar, let's start with you, since your last name comes first in alphabetical order.
Oh, wow. You know what, Evan? Since you're not here, you can go first. Evan, how do you find IB?
Filled out if you look through my...
Evan, give us a description.
I think that IB is a pretty great program. The one thing that I've had at the moment with it is that there's a huge gap between my math grade and my English grade and my Spanish grade
Right.
and my chemistry grade and then my biology grade because those grades are kept like and then my biology grade is
What's your Spanish
Yeah.
grade right now, anyways?
No revealing what your grades are. No
See?
specifics, please.
I have the same problem as you, Evan, except everything is pretty high for me except for English. It's like
I don't think anybody's doing that well.
English is my English mark is lower than the Grand Canyon. Let's just leave it as that.
lower than Death Valley, California.
Yes.
Ooh, wow.
That's the lowest.
Okay, I guess we're gonna do it alphabetical then. So we'll go with me.
Okay.
Oh, we're doing reverse alphabetical because we started with Evan.
All right.
So
Again, amazing IP.
yes. So I like everything else in IB. First, I'll start with like chemistry and bio because I guess you can kind of group those two together. I like to.
Actually, biology is a science and chemistry is an art, according to IB.
That's not important.
Yeah.
It is.
Considers chemistry an art.
But no, what I find that's nice about it is that with like a lot of projects, you're not given anything like any ideas. You're like given like the bare minimum, and they're just like do something with this. And
For
like here are the
example,
guidelines.
in chemistry right now
And biology.
and
Yeah.
biology, we have to make our own lab. Just make a lab on anything based on what we're learning now. And it's proving to be a lot harder.
Yeah, proving to be quite difficult. But you know, I like that aspect of just like finding your own idea. I wish we had HL math because the math we're doing right now is so like it's not in
Higher
depth.
level. We want higher level math instead
Yeah.
of standard level.
It's not in depth and it's so easy
I
to do
mean,
it.
Technically, we can do higher
can
level
do higher
math, but
level.
we have to study it ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and do some random exam at MUN. Going back to the beginning of the podcast.
That's true. Yeah, no, so I find math is pretty easy. Like language, if you're in French, I don't like if you're in French immersion, like is it that bad?
Well, tell us about a French immersion.
All right,
Luke,
I'm
please.
the only person here who's doing French immersion
Which is
and doing IB French, which is so IB has 3 levels of language. English, for example, we're doing English, IB English. Okay, no.
All our courses names are just IB blank.
Yeah.
That's all our
So
courses names.
IB English currently is like would be if English was your like native tongue and you've been learning this all your life. Then you have the second highest level or second middle grounds, which is what my French would be. Then you have Spanish, which is like just really basic introduction to it, which is what Maxim, Bashar, and Evan are doing. French is all right. There's certain grading things in French where they have to grade you on the standard as if you were fluent in French and if you were a a regular French speaker. Which I'm not because I don't live in an environment where I speak French very often, but nor does anybody else, really, except people who speak French. Oh, no names. I'm gonna have to delete that name out.
Yeah,
Thanks, Maxim.
No problem. Yeah, you gotta
Oh my
leave that out.
God.
But
Just pretend you continue.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, no, nothing happened. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm not doing as well as I want to do, but I can probably improve on it. It's just language. It's like I don't know how to. No hablo inglés.
no hablo francés. But no, Spanish, like, because Bashar and I and Evan are in Spanish.
Spanish is really fun.
Spanish
honestly,
is
yeah.
fun, and it's actually quite easy. Like, if you spend, like, 30 minutes, like, every other day or something, just with the, like, the verbs and the, like, the
Just learning
adjectives or
new
whatever.
vocab.
Yeah, like, it's fairly easy. It isn't, like, too demanding
Here,
of you.
let us demonstrate our amazing knowledge.
Buenos dias, Bashar.
Buenos días, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy bien. ¿Y tú?
Estoy borrachos.
Ooh.
Don't you like this Spanish music?
Yes, beautiful. So yeah, that's a little taste of our Spanish speaking capabilities.
Yeah.
But I find most of the classes are pretty enjoyable. English is where things kind of fall down the drain. English for everybody it's a big jump.
It's like
Because
doing kindergarten math and then jumping up to calculus.
I don't think.
calculus is more like 5th grade math.
Yeah, it's not that big of a jump. 'Cause
But
we
like
for
already have a
me,
background. Okay,
I
for
can
you.
barely speak English, guys. Come on.
Okay, yeah, for you. But I find with like English and everything, like you're not given a lot of like what you have to do, and that's what makes it so difficult. Like when there's this like, because if you take like a year before, 2 years before, English is here's what I want to hear. Tell me this. Now it's just kind of like I don't really want to hear anything, and I don't really care. But
Wanna know what that is?
what?
An English horn.
Oh my goodness, that's
So
terrible.
in English right now, they're just write about the poem. Just write
Like
just anything about the poem.
yeah, you have to like explain what do you think like.
And no one knows what to
Yeah, it's not very specific, but I mean, obviously, it's just a learning curve and everything.
Very steep.
yeah. Also, I'm taking physics right now, and oh boy, that class is like Thursdays. I have double physics, which is like physics, lunch, physics, and that has quite possibly got to do with like. I just get so like bored with it because in the other classes I'm like actively engaging.
Except for biology, Max.
I'm actively engaging in biology like all the time. And maybe you guys are just like bored out of your minds, but I'm actually like talking and everything
No, I mean like you don't write anything down.
Okay, let's stay
because I have everything at home.
relevant
Alright.
to the podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I find with every other like IB class, you're actively engaging. It's like you're seeking out your own knowledge. You're really thinking through it. Or like, I mean, obviously with chemistry it's a bit different, but even then, it's like we only get chemistry like 3 times a week, and usually it's just like we have a book, we write down our notes, and we have a quiz.
But the teacher's really good.
Yeah, the teacher is really good,
Amazing.
but with
Top-notch.
physics, it's like you spend an entire class period
And
just
our cast coordinator
coordinator.
is
Is
the best in the
amazing.
world.
The
Best
most
in the world.
Amazing.
Look, she's definitely not grading us on this or anything.
No.
No.
She's
She's
phenomenal.
She's great. She's
Oh.
phenomenal. But I find physics. It's like because the teacher that I have, like every other teacher just has a book and then they just read off the book.
Well, on that note, your physics. Remember what you're doing, and of all the other classes at the moment, maybe that contributes to your like how slow physics seems.
Yeah, I guess that's true
How
because like
spelled it.
we're always just writing notes and I'm just bored out of my mind. But I mean, physics is fun. Like whenever I do equations and everything.
Okay. So why would you prefer to do IB elsewhere other than UFMAT?
Yeah.
Okay. If I can get accepted into like, I'll just start with my opinion.
Let's say you can do it anywhere in Canada.
Yeah.
Like because one of our friends went over to a certain city and
Ontario.
it was
He went. One of
Yeah.
our friends moved to Ontario.
yeah, and he like there was no IB schools that were open. But if I had the possibility of it being open, I guess you could say, I'd definitely choose like.
But you would have to do it by like you wouldn't have any friends there. Like you can make your own friends, but
I'd say. Oh, I mean, if I'm gonna do that, I'd say BC or Toronto. I mean, they both have like the best education, so I'd do it there.
why?
Well,
So what?
oh, I feel like I'm just constantly talking. Nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll just wrap this up really quick. But BC has really nice weather, and they have the best education in Canada. And Toronto's really, really close to the States.
Okay, fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
Lucas, why would you prefer to do it
Um,
elsewhere?
I just kind of want to do. There's not too much variety. It's not that I have a problem. I would have done an advanced program anyways. But it's like, what are you doing? Oh my. Okay.
The problem with our IB
is
system,
we don't have too much variety. Like there's
And
like
that's-
IB
We
business.
couldn't even
there's-
get physics.
We're
Like
fine.
we didn't have enough people for
But that-
physics.
it's
there's
not
bio-
really the school's fault. It's because
It's because we don't have that many people, and we don't have that many people interested.
people in Newfoundland don't really want to do IB, except
Except the people that kind of want to go away from Newfoundland.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know, there seems to be a lot more foreigners than IB.
There is, yes.
There is a
definitely.
lot. Yeah.
The majority is not like from our province.
White.
Okay. Well, if you want to put it bluntly, yeah.
The majority in IB is not the majority in other classes. There we go.
Yes. All right. Fair enough.
So we have this problem of we have like too little students wanting to do a certain subject for.
And then we don't have the teachers to teach the certain
Yeah.
subject as well.
Ooh. Better take that. Okay,
Such
you guys
as
continue.
our language class. For
Мы заканчиваем 3.
we usually have IB Spanish, or we should have had the option for IB Italian, but not enough people chose IB
Через 5 минут
Italian
ты можешь подать.
for the school to offer it.
Через 5 минут ты можешь начинать, чтобы понимать меня. Едет.
He's spreading communism.
Okay, Evan, why would you want to do? Oh, would you want to do IB elsewhere?
No.
Not particularly. I would like to be able to do IB physics, of course. But otherwise, I don't see one of the beauties of the program is that it's sort of very similar everywhere.
No, but a lot of other places have a lot more options than we do. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the only
They have, like-
class we could have changed was you could either take chemistry or music,
In the end, yeah, that was the only difference.
No, I looked up like one of the
Or
private schools.
French or Spanish if you.
French or
Yeah.
Spanish, yeah.
I looked up one of the private schools in Toronto. Oh my goodness, they had you could learn
IB
like
business.
Japanese business,
Yeah, dude.
art,
Yeah.
film. You could do like all this kind of stuff, and there was like so much. But that's probably just because of the budget of the schools.
And then again, you have to remember that our IB system, whereas it's only because we do junior
We-
and
we,
senior high.
we only have one
Yeah.
IB school,
in-
and it's
in our
not even
province.
like full IB school, like a very small class in
Mhm.
yeah, there's one class.
Yeah.
our whole province,
In our entire province, yes.
which also includes Labrador.
Mm.
Wow.
Shout out to my snow boys. shout out to my freezing at the moment boys.
Because people will hear shoutouts an hour into the podcast.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Can I get a one shout out, please? Okay, so
Okay.
let's want to clue up.
Yeah, because Evan's gonna get his
Get his
power
studio.
cut out.
Another great thing about our province, they randomly cut out our power.
Oh, and we have 3 months. We have during like 3 days we have extreme heat, like just-
humidity.
like humidity and heat, like, and plus a lot of people don't have air conditioning because it's too expensive. So most
Even
people,
it's not necessary.
yeah,
Because we
Yeah,
only
no.
have 3 days of heat, so
yeah,
why
but
are
like
you buying like $1,000 machine for 3 days?
that is true. But like, yeah, no, like you have 3 days of like extreme heat and where you don't want to do anything because it requires too much energy and you'd overheat.
Yeah.
And then
How
you
do you
have.
calculate energy, IB?
Oh my gosh.
Shut up. And then you have
That was a swear maxim. I gotta edit that out.
and then you have winter. That's a really good month. But right in between the ending of winter and the 3 days of the 3 days of heat, and then after the 3 days of heat in winter, you have construction. Those are all of the 3 months.
Yeah. So we have
Winter goes from like October to like April, pretty much.
even into June
Yeah.
last year.
And then
June last
This year, I mean.
Yeah.
This year. Yeah.
And then
2017 June.
And then construction, heat, construction, and winter.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nothing else.
All right. Okay, so I guess we can kind of clue up. Thank you for listening. If you
Yeah.
made it through this entire way,
I will personally give you a trophy if you've managed to get through this podcast so far.
Yeah.
Like I will personally give you a trophy,
Here's the
and
last
you will not be able to
question.
hold
Like-
hold this to me. You cannot be accountable to hold this against me, and you're allowed to use video clips or else I'll claim that you took this out of context.
Nice. All right. Okay. What is your last question, Bishop?
No, I'm good.
You're
It's
good?
a student.
Come on, go for it. We got a little bit of time.
Alright. I need to think of a proper way to word the question.
All right. Okay. So, okay.
Would you prefer IB English to be as hard as it is?
Oh.
Since it does prepare us for
Yes,
university.
I am glad it is this.
And would you want
Yeah,
our
I
other
would.
classes to be as hard?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think everything's fine right now because it'll make it a lot easier, the transition.
So you
between
think some
high
of our classes are too easy?
school. I think bio's kind of well, not bio's easy, but
chemistry?
it's enjoyable. Chemistry we're just recapping.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's
And
true.
we only have it 3 times a week. So.
That's true.
Anyways, yeah.
Math. That's definitely something
Math
that's
is-
way
math is-
too easy.
To an extent, yes.
So you prefer to struggle for like 2 years in our
and
high
then have
school,
it easy.
and then in university you already have all the good habits.
Maybe
and,
not.
like,
Maybe not
good
struggle
study.
because I still want to have a chance of having good grades going into university as well. So kind of find the middle ground between completely struggling.
But the thing about IB grading system.
Oh yes, adjustments. That's the best part.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
so I guess we can all say goodbye now. All right, see ya. Evan can say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, and
Wait.
next week maybe you can tune in.
All right.
And
see-
our.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Goodbye, my
Wait,
Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, my honey.
Wait, don't end it. Michelle's doing something. The last one for this podcast. Come on, YouTube. You better be faster than this.
All right.
Our Wi-Fi is really slow here.
Yeah, we can blame somebody for that.
Who lives like.
All right. So long.
Goodbye.
Bye, Felicia.